Hi guys. So this is my Team Associated GT2. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on this. Whether you're new to the channel, which you probably are. You know, I usually do cars and trucks and just random little things here and there. Haven't posted in forever. Got my RC collection here, so this is nothing new, just kind of going back through things. And if you're a fan of these little trucks, then I'm going to show you what I did, and you know, let me know what you think. Of course, these things are getting antique now, so a lot of people can't find parts, you can't put stuff together. Well, I found my own way to do it, and this truck is exactly the way I would have wanted it when I was 12. So let's dive right into that. So obviously, if you look at it, which I'm not a super huge Traxxas fanboy, but I guess you could say that, you know, I got my UDR here, I got my Gt2 there, and then a bunch of miscellaneous Traxxas parts. I also got a HPI Savage up there. I'm currently redoing that one. But when I was little, I wanted Anaconda tires for sure, because I saw the Gt2 3.3s, and I think like every little kid wants a truggy or something that does 60 something miles an hour. So I always had that thought in my mind, what if I put those on my GT2, or what if I could make it work? And of course, being younger, I didn't know what I was doing, and I couldn't make it work. So, you know, now that I'm in my 20s, I'm 26 now, I can basically do all this stuff and, you know, get away with it and at least make it work right. So there's that first thing. This is my Interceptor body. I had this thing probably painted since I was like, I don't know, maybe 14 or so, and it survived the crash, so it didn't look too bad, which now these things are becoming a little bit you know, sought after, and nobody can find them anymore, but this one still looks pretty good. Under the hood here, or under the body here, I had to go ahead and go to eBay, get new steering links, get new turning blocks, same thing with A-arms, and get all that stuff put together so this truck could even roll again, because everything was crunched over on top of it. I didn't realize how good a shape this thing was in until I took everything that was messed up off of it. And I decided, you know, like I said, if I'd build it back exactly how I'd want it when I was 12. First off, for the people that are probably going to roast me alive for putting a Traxxas motor in here, I wanted to make the 3.3 fit because that was something, you know, I would have wanted when I was a kid, which sounds dumb, but it's kind of just, you know, how it was going to be. If you want to know how I did it, so first off, if you want to do motor mounts, the motor mounts actually bolt up exact bolt pattern to A&E Team Associated, I don't even know what you call that, just motor mounts or engine block, or, you know, there's like multiple different names for it, but it bolts up direct to that, and it has no issues. As far as spur gear, or not spur gear, yeah, I guess you'd say spur gear, and all that spur and pinion, all this stuff lines up. This is Traxxas right here. This is a Traxxas clutch, Traxxas bell housing, all that stuff. It all bolts up and meshes great with the Team Associated stuff. So if you have one of these and you eventually want to do it, that's one thing you don't have to change out. This is Gt2 3.3 linkage here. Actually, I take that back. This is Team Associated linkage that I modified to fit a Gt2 3.3 servo horn. The reason I put that in there is because I like these little, I don't even know what you call them, but like turning block, or not turning blocks. I guess you call these things pivots, but that's what that is. And I like these because it seemed to have a smoother action whenever it's driving. This is a modified Gt2, which this thing was trash, and I just kind of bent it up and made it work. But this is a modified Gt2 throttle linkage here. and it works great. I just had issues with it popping off here, but I've recently rebent this and it seemed to fix that issue. But as you can see, all of that works just fine. Moving on to this, this is what I think is a Revo 3.3, air filter. I didn't want to go with the Gt2 because it stuck out so far and it would be hitting the body even more, which was kind of counterproductive because I didn't want to completely destroy the body, which I ended up doing anyway. And I figured with it being so short, it's going to take all the air in from this and it's just going to take in hot air, and it's not going to make any sense to go ahead and, have a cold air intake or whatever. It's going to be right here next to this. So what I did was I ran this, which is just a Revo. It's just a longer tube here. It still runs your stock Traxxas air filter, which is great for anything. I don't care who you are. This thing works perfect. It doesn't let any sand in, any dirt. Ask me how I know. That thing's been to the beach 1,000 times. I take that back. That thing's been to the beach probably about 100 times. It's had sand all over it. It's still in the stock motor, and I've ran about 12 gallons of fuel through it. Like, it still runs great. Moving on here, the chassis was in pretty decent shape. I just cleaned it up best I could. It's got some fuel on it now because I started earlier. I wanted to run it, but it's running the stock A&E receiver, and I actually have the stock Team Associated transmitter, the old XP2. And believe it or not, I went through this thing and made it work. This is an antenna out of another, like I guess you say, parts car, and all that stuff still works. I found this thing in my closet, or the bottom of this thing in the closet, after it's been, sitting in there for, I don't know, 10, 12 years, however long it's been. But I made that work with this again, and it seemed to, be just fine. I'll probably end up changing it in the future, but I figured it would be cool and nostalgic to keep that on there. As far as electronics go, it still has a 4 battery pack. It is now a Traxxas battery pack. It's basically the same thing that was in it, but it's what I could find at the hobby store and just throw in there for now. Wires run up through here and down here. Now, what might be frowned upon by RC community is I had to cut a hole down into here for wires to be ran, because I think the only way the wires ran out on these things was through the front here, under the receiver box, which is cool and all. I mean, it would have kept it tucked away, but I didn't want the wires to be pinched because they're constantly being pinched between the chassis. So I ran them here, and they stay out of the way. Doesn't seem like much gets in there. So it came out really good. Now, moving on, let's see here. So when I was a kid, another thing when I was a kid, I wanted to have Easy Start. Now, that sounds dumb to some of you guys that race, some of you guys that want lighter weight, but the Easy Start was probably one of the coolest additions, and just making it work was probably one of the, best light bulb awesome moments I had, just because I was thinking to myself, man, when I was a kid, I wanted one of these and I could make it work. Well, if you look in here, you have plenty of room to run a fuel line. Now, it's a little pinched. I mean, as far as that goes, it might rub on here a little bit, but as much as I run this truck, it doesn't matter. Like, it works perfect. So back here, I probably could have mounted this to some block here, but I figured it was better just to leave it dangling. It doesn't really get in the way of anything. Same thing with the wires up here. This is out of I believe a Revo 3.3 or a T-Max, because it's all extended long wires, and you can just run it out the back to where you can take your starter and just plug it in. Fix that issue. Truck runs great. That motor is out of engine is out of a S-Max 3.3, which I have down there. I don't know if anybody remembers what an S-Max is, but it's a 2-wheel drive T-Max, essentially. Same thing. But it's a 2-wheel drive version, and it's shorter. It's really funky. But I got this for my buddy for like 50 bucks. I didn't know if it ran still, which it does, and it runs great now. But I had to go through and I resealed the exhaust, I resealed the carburetor, I resealed the side or the bearings in here, put a new seal on the side cover that covers up your crank, all that stuff. And now it runs perfect. Like, you can take this thing out on a rip in cold weather and it will not stall. It just runs really good. So as far as that goes, the conversion, I don't know if you even call it a conversion. It's more like just dumping in a motor and making it work. It works fantastic. Here is a Gt2 3.3 exhaust. I kind of just messed up, well, not messed up, but I kind of took that Gt2 apart to see if it would work, and it seems to work perfect. Now, if you're a all stock RC guy and you want a really stock car, this is probably not the way to go for you. But as far as what I wanted, it's perfect. I went with wheel hexes. They have these upgraded wheel hexes that you can get from, well, eBay. You can get them from, RC Online. You can get them anywhere. And I went ahead and put them in here so I could adapt whatever wheel I wanted to. And I got plenty of wheels up there to put on this if I wanted to go off-roading, but since I want this thing to be a clean little ride, I just put Anaconda tires on it and we run it on the street. And let me tell you guys, I mean, I'm getting up to almost 50 with this thing, and it's perfect. It's got one gear, but it definitely wraps out and it sticks really well. It's lightweight and it turns and rips. Let me think here. I had to get a fuel tank from eBay, which wasn't my best moment, but this one wasn't yellowed at all, and it had no cracks, nothing. My old one had gotten minced up, and it was completely boogered up. That was probably one of the better buys. It was one of the more expensive buys, believe it or not, out of the entire thing. I think the tank itself costed more than the motor. Up here, I found RPM skid plate, whatever you want to call this, bumper skid plate. And as far as that goes, this is perfect for bumping over stuff. And that was at the RC shop, and they still had it, so I don't know if they still make them or if it was just new old stock, but it seems to work well. As far as the body goes, if you want to do this conversion, I mean, not saying that you want to put a 3.3 in a GT2, you have to cut the body, and that kind of sucks, but it ended up looking really cool. I don't know if you guys agree, but the exhaust sticks out. There's not really a way of going around that unless you cut this pipe and weld it or some funny stuff. But I cut this out super nice so the motor fits. It doesn't rub at all, nothing rubs, and it just all around came out to be a beautiful truck. I mean, as far as, a GT2 can go, in my opinion. These Anaconda tires are running stock Traxxas bearings, so they don't really fit on the shaft as good as they should. I probably could find a spacer or a bushing to fit in here that would make them fit better, but they don't wobble at all after they're tightened down, and they just work great. So let me think here. Oh, I would have kept the stock motor in it had it not worn out. Like, the stock motor had basically eaten the piston, and the rod was already rubbing through the bottom of the crankcase. So just let me know what you guys think, and I will respond to comments. Bye for now.